Carol and Cheryl, Cheryl and Carol, Carol and Cheryl. Welcome back to Conversations with Carol and Cheryl. Hey, Cheryl.
Hey, Carol, how are you?
Good. So I want to remind our listeners to check out our Facebook page, our Instagram, our YouTube, our website. And thank you for pressing listen on this episode. Today we're going to talk about the Netflix documentary called Social Dilemma. So basically the show, they did interviews with men and women who helped build social media. So social media would be Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Google, YouTube. That's what the definition of social media is in this context. They had 50 designers, and a lot of these designers were interviewed as part of this documentary. 50 designers made decisions that impacted 2 million people. That's kind of mind-blowing to me. I don't know in history if that has happened before. I guess it has with the iPhone and the printing press, other technologies. I think social media is good. I happen to love it. So some of the advantages for me is I get to connect with my family that I'm not geographically connected to, some schoolmates from elementary school and kids that I played softball with. Of course, my coworkers. I'm retired, so I get to keep in contact with my coworkers. And also we advertise our show on social media and we host our show on these platforms. So to me, it's terrific. I mean, is that how you feel?
Yeah, I'm for it. I think it's a good thing. With every good thing, there's always a flip side. To me, I think the flip side is obvious, but I like all the platforms. I don't like Facebook for some reason, but I love Instagram and I love Twitter and TikTok. But I deleted my TikTok, everything going on. But my go-tos are Instagram and Twitter.
Why do you go there?
Twitter, I go for information, my news. I follow news anchors that are able to give their real view of situations on Twitter that they can't on the air. This is their personal views. So I like it for that. I think it's like a national emergency broadcast system. I think every adult should be on Twitter, but I know a lot of them aren't. And when I got sucked into Twitter is when Hurricane Sandy happened. I had just gotten the app on my phone and I was amazed that they were posting like where water trucks were. Fresh water trucks will be at the intersection of Atlantic and 15th or whatever. And I was just like, this is amazing. How great is that to know? And so that's when I was a believer in Twitter. Instagram is entertainment for me.
So let's talk about some of the negatives. Okay, so you said that you go to Twitter for your news. One of the statistics I think that came out in this documentary was that fake news spreads 6 times faster than real news. So you said on Twitter, you're just following the opinions of people, not necessarily facts.
Probably. Some of it's factual. Some of the people I follow, it's factual. It's just like the news. Some people watch Fox, some people watch MSNBC, 2 completely different platforms. I don't know. I follow people that I think have been reliable, that have been around for a long time. And I like to follow other people that I don't like or that have opposite views just to see what they're saying. And so that I can make an opinion for myself.
Would you say you're addicted
to Twitter? Right now I am. Definitely. Well, I have to take breaks now from Twitter. But yeah, when a lot of this upheaval started the past 4 years, I was on it constant. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. I was just like, this is just like an ongoing movie. Scary and entertaining all at the same time. And then I was upset with people that would not make themselves be informed. because it was like I was getting information on Twitter that nobody knew yet. They were just like, I try not to get into that. And I'm like, you really need to.
Okay, Cheryl.
Yeah.
I'm guilty of that. Stop talking about me.
Well, you're not the only one. I had a lot of people that just poo-pooed things, and it was just like, this is why we're where we're at. And you cannot, in my opinion, poo-poo it now. I mean, it's just too big. Someone said one time, I can't wait till the days we can go back to Twitter and the biggest news will be a nip slip. I'm like, no kidding.
Well, I guess the reason I don't follow it as closely as you is because of the fake news. And this is the part that I knew on a surface level, but this documentary drove home. One thing that I like is they do track my clicks and what I Google and what I YouTube, and then put those advertisements in my feed. And I appreciate that. I'm not a compulsive or impulsive spender, but sometimes things come into my feed and I'm like, wow, that's really cool. I could use that for my bike, or, that would be great on the beach, this product. So I appreciate that. I know a lot of people get annoyed, but at the same time, every political post, which I don't do a lot of this, or every news post that you click on, the social media site takes that data about you and then forwards more stuff like that. In the documentary, they brought this out that if you say you click on one conspiracy theory post, you're going to start getting a lot of conspiracy theory posts in your feed. Okay? And if you keep clicking on them, you're going to get more and more. And a lot of these things are just not true. They're fake. And now they're manipulating my brain, either for profit, for advertising, or for these groups. So I don't feel like I'm weak in that way. I feel like I can discern what's fake and what's real, but I really can't. I don't think anybody can. You really have to fact check. And like this statistic that the fake news spreads faster, so then we all get on a frenzy. All of my friends are looking at the same stuff I'm looking at because we're all kind of the same. We're in that sort of that group. And I think that's how we're becoming so polarized in our country. And I'm like you, I read both sides. I read everything, and I can see how we're getting farther and farther apart as Americans. How one event can be viewed two different ways. And that really scares me because we're being manipulated. Groups are being manipulated. And that's how these riots are being organized. I could never figure out, because people that I know that protest don't riot. They don't destroy property. They feel passionate about an issue, but they're not going to destroy somebody else's property. And I never felt like this was your typical American. I still don't. But social media has allowed these groups to coordinate, collaborate, and gather large groups of people very quickly. And I think that's dangerous. And they brought that out in the documentary. So how do you, as an adult, discern? How do you not get sucked in?
I think it's based on your values. Without getting political, there's clearly two separate sides right now. One is painfully obvious to me, wrong, and one isn't. And so the idea that social media has made some people believe some of this stuff, and these are educated, smart people, blows my mind.
Right. That scares me.
So it's not necessarily social media. I mean, you choose to follow it. It's not based on what they're throwing at you. I think it's based on what you deep down believe. Like, for instance, Black Lives Matter. I don't know why that's such a hard concept. I mean, people think there's other things behind it. Okay, so maybe some people have jumped on the bandwagon. Maybe there's other things behind it. Okay. But it doesn't still take away from what the majority of Black people are trying to say. And why, if someone said, this matters, why would you say blue lives matter or all lives matter? They're not saying that. Like, that's just such a simple concept to understand. You're just refusing that voice to that group for whatever reason. Like Kaepernick kneeling for the flag. I mean, not the flag,
the national anthem.
Yeah, because that was a silent protest. It was because not everybody is equal. And everyone kept acting like it was for the military, the soldiers, and things like that. It's like, why? Why can't you just take what someone says or the meaning they're telling you it is? Why do you have to keep twisting it? But anyway, my whole point is that that's not social media. If you're writing on that and you're believing that, and you're not believing the source, the person that's speaking, saying why he's doing it, that's on you. That's not social media. But other people will support it, and I guess it gains momentum. But my point is like, it's in your gut. What's your gut believe? Why can't you listen to this person that's telling you where his intentions are coming from? Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think the answer to that, and this is just the world according to Carol, is first we have to agree on the problem. So if you think the problem is Black Lives Matter, and I think the problem is all lives matter, we're not really agreeing on the problem.
Right.
And then if you convince me of your position that, yes, all lives matter, blue lives matter, but there's a problem with the Black lives right now, and that's what we need to focus on. If I agree with you, then I have to do something about it. I have to be accountable for my own actions. I think that's the disconnect. It's pretty simple. First, agree on the problem, and then if we all agree, then we agree on a solution, and then we're all accountable. But I don't want to be accountable. So I'm going to defer and say, oh, no, it's a different problem. Then I don't have to take responsibility for my own actions. And I know that's kind of complicated.
So I guess it goes back to, is that social media's problem, or is it, you see what I'm saying? It's like,
yes,
it's a person's problem and social media is supporting it. It's not social media's problem and the people are being brainwashed by it.
The same thing happens with news on TV and with newspapers. So they will put out information just like social media. And then you can listen or read whatever you want and come up with your own opinions. I think the problem with social media is what you said, the momentum. So if they see that I'm all for Black Lives Matter, I'm going to be bombarded with all Black Lives Matter. If I'm clicking on the Blue Lives Matter content, then I'm going to be bombarded with Blue Lives Matter. And then the two sides become polarized. And you're not getting the full picture. You're not seeing both sides of it. You're just getting bombarded with one side. And then you're siding with all of those people. And then you feel like, this is my group. We all think this way. And then the momentum starts. Then you're vulnerable to the violence, the riots, taking it to one step further. Because now, if I'm on the opposite side, I'm the enemy. It's not that I'm an American with a different viewpoint. I am now the enemy and must be destroyed, either in writing, with dislikes, with rioting, with protests. Do you see what I mean? It just takes it to another level, gains momentum.
I see what you mean, but it also promotes conversation. I mean, you're insulated to a certain degree by getting bombarded on social media with things that keeping you on that track of thought. But there's also enough stuff going on with friends, family, to open up for debate, to hear the other side. It's not like you're encapsulated in it, because there are other people talking about it or going, what? You don't understand? I mean, it's not this. I mean, it's on the news. It's the people out there screaming. I don't think social media is a big driver. It does, but it also enables you to have conversation and to be aware of what other people are thinking. Like I used to think, how could Hitler have done what he did? How does that happen? And now I realize there are people that were quite aware of that happening and were perfectly fine with that. So the people that aren't need to know just how many people are okay
True.
with that. So here comes in social media, like I am shocked at the stuff that people think. I did not think this stuff still existed, and it's opened up my eyes. So that's a good thing.
Mm-hmm. When you're scrolling in social media, you're kind of in a spell, and you can be manipulated for profit through these advertisers.
No. Maybe if I had thousands and thousands and thousands of extra dollars to spend, I might. I can be pretty impulsive here and there, but no. See, this is our generation talking. This is all new to us.
That's what I was just going to say. Let's move to the kids. Child suicides have increased 150%. 150% in the last decade since social media came to be. Self-harming by girls between the ages of 10 and 14 has almost tripled. And self-harming is cutting. I never cut when I was a kid. I didn't even know what it was.
Right.
Cyberbullying and these girls' desperation for approval, that's a problem. And then, of course, the increase in anxiety and depression. I think all of this is true since social media, and I can tell you when my kids were in middle school, in high school, if they had their phone and they were scrolling and they weren't bothering me, we were all happy. I was not going to take their device away and go, oh, that's bad for you.
Right.
They were quiet. I thought I knew what they were looking at, but I couldn't really control it. But because there was peace and harmony, I was okay with it. And my kids, luckily, they didn't cut or commit suicide, or I know they had depression and anxiety from the device, and they are definitely addicted, as am I. You got to admit, that's all reality.
I don't know. I think a lot of this trouble is broken homes. And I think like a lot of parents are probably on social media. A lot of parents are going on Match.com dates. I don't want to insult anybody or anything like that, but to me, I don't think you should be doing that. That's just me. I think once you have your kids, you need to kind of hang up dating. Now, remember, I'm asexual. I just think that needs to wait. Would be weird for me as a child to know my mom's going out on dates. Some parents are dating other parents. I knew of an acquaintance that was dating their kid's teacher, or a teacher in the school that was only separated. I mean, that could have really blown up, and the kids would pay the price. But it's not always like that scandalous. So, but my point is, I think it's a lot of the home life.
Home life has always been like that.
The parents are on social media. Can you imagine if your mom had her own Instagram page, and was posting pictures drinking or at the beach, and she's single? You know what I'm saying? It's different. I think that's unsettling for kids. That's what I think. Okay, I watched Joe Rogan's comedy special, right? And he was saying he had a messed up childhood. And then he goes, well, not really. He goes, My mom dated my stepdad for a while before they got married. And he said, and kids would say, is that your dad? And he's like, no, it's my mom's boyfriend. And he goes, kids can be cruel. And he's like, oh, so it's just a guy screwing your mom. He's like, yeah, I guess so. So, but for him to have said his first thing, and maybe he wrote it for the comedy effect.
Right,
but
know.
the idea that he referred to it as a messed up childhood kind of hit home to me. It's like, wow. I mean, she ended up marrying him. What's the problem?
Right.
But it's odd.
So you're saying there's always been messed up divorces and screwed up childhoods, but because the parent is on social media and not taking care of their kids, or they're doing more dating because of the online, that the kids are more screwed up because of that?
I don't think they're not taking care of their kids. I think it's part of the problem. Even if it was 20 years ago and the parents were like taking newspaper ads out and dating, I still think that's a little odd when you have kids. I think once you have kids, you need to just wait till they're old enough and then you can do whatever you want. So I think that combined with social media and, being easier for these parents and things to go out on dates and different things like that, it's led to more cheating. It's led to more divorces. It's just, you're the freak if your parents are still married. It's like, your parents are married. Do they hate each other? I think it contributes to an unstable childhood.
But what about the like button? The girl that is seeking that approval and seeking a lot of friends, a big friend group, and a lot of likes on a picture. Or the 14-year-old that's getting bullied. Of course, we all got bullied when we were kids, but you can get bullied a lot more now on social media than if you're just riding your bike in the neighborhood.
I think that also contributes. Definitely. I mean, that's a portion of it. I think the parents on social media is a portion. I think social media itself is a portion. It all contributes to your self-esteem.
But what about what you were saying? One of the advantages to social media is getting real-time information about things that are happening in the world. So for us, if we see there's an earthquake over here and a hurricane over there and a shooting up in that city and a riot over in this city, we're taking that in as adults. But a 14-year-old, how do they process all that? That just happened in 4 minutes in a scroll. I think that's causing a lot of anxiety. It's causing them not to want to learn to drive, not to want to go out and date, not to leave the bedroom or the couch.
I guess I just don't think social media is the culprit. I think movies are twisted now. I think TV is twisted. I think it's other things myself. For seeing all that, I think they become desensitized to that, actually. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I don't know that they worry about it. I think TV showing like you touching the refrigerator and then all these germs covering the the refrigerator handle is causing anxiety in kids.
No, that's causing anxiety in you.
Yeah. I think watching Nick Unit or whatever it is, those shows where they're doing autopsies, and John Mulaney did that stand-up thing that said, he says, the victim was found with semen in the ear.
Oh, God.
And something else. It's like, that's disturbing. That is disturbing. I can't fathom a shooting in Chicago. I think it's a combination of stuff.
But I think it does contribute to all of these things.
It contributes. It contributes. But I don't think there's an alarm. Like these guys are sounding an alarm. Yeah. I don't think there needs to be an alarm sounded. It's a factor. It's definitely a factor. But I think there's a lot of other factors. I don't think you should be alarmed about it with social media, in my opinion.
So do you agree with their takeaways, which was 1, turn off the notifications, and 2, limit the kids' screen time?
I don't think you're going to be able to get that done. I've never, limited their time. I was like you. I was like, wow, the more they read, the more vocabulary they get, the more they know how to spell.
Yeah.
The more they know how to comprehend.
Fortunately, my son is Googling big butts and not really reading, but looking at pictures.
I have to tell you a story. One time I Googled anal sex because I wanted to see how many people did it.
Yeah.
I was just curious. And so I thought I had to tell my kids, I go, guys, if I die tomorrow and they should somehow take my phone to see if it was under some suspicious circumstances and you see that I Googled anal sex, I was just curious how many people do it. If I Google anything really weird or twisted, I let them know. Don't think I'm into any underground weird stuff.
So did you start getting ads for Tux and butt lube?
No, I didn't. But I did start getting something on my Twitter with girls with a big butt. And I was like, what the hell? What? And I think it said follow. I had to unfollow it. And I wouldn't have followed something like that. That was weird. Now, I don't know if I did it by accident. So anyway, yeah, that was weird.
That's the problem when you do these Google searches.
Sometimes when these celebrities have sex tapes or something, I'll Google it for curiosity. Mm-hmm. And so then I'll get weird stuff.
Well, that's the problem. Can you imagine what the kids are getting?
Yeah.
Who knows what they're Googling? In the documentary, it talked about different Google results based on your geography. So if you Google one search term in Chicago and one search term in New York, you're going to get two different results.
That alarmed me. That was the only thing that hit home with me. That's weird.
Okay, so based on that, do you think any of this stuff should be regulated? Or do you think the data mining and the algorithms should just be free to do their thing?
Unless they start using it against you for job interviews or, job positions, things like that. In the old days when they're like, don't throw anything out in your trash, people can go through it. I'm like, out of all the trash, if someone found my trash and opened it up and found what they needed, it's so small.
Were you ever discriminated at work based on your garbage, Mountain Dew, and hot dog packages?
Not that I know of. I did feel pretty uneasy about it sometimes, especially being overweight, walked out of 7-Eleven with a Mountain Dew and 2 hot dogs. It's like, really, lady? Where's the problem? Are you surprised?
You left the garbage in your car and didn't take it to work and throw it away there. Took it, put it in one of the hallway garbages on the way in.
Yeah. And to be fair, I am overweight. And so if I was like thin and looking great, I always say I'm overweight because if I wasn't, I'd be really slutty looking, So it's God's way of keeping me on the straight and narrow. With all those parents that look great and are posting, maybe if I had the body they did, I would be doing it too. I mean, I don't want to judge. To be clear with everybody, nobody's going to be looking at my pictures in a sexy dress.
I know. You only post food and your dogs.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm that lady.
You're the crazy dog lady. No, I know what you're saying. I don't think anyone's taking what you're saying the wrong way. I think what you're saying is just, if you're a parent, you have a responsibility to your kids. And parent them. Keep your eye on the ball. Don't be derailed with this miscellaneous other stuff. And I think some people could argue, well, I met somebody and they compliment me and they help me parent my kids. And I'm sure that happens too. I mean, matters of the heart are complicated. My parents got divorced and I adapted. You just adapt. What's weird for my kids, because we didn't get divorced, wasn't when they saw other people getting divorced. Like my sister, they're like, oh, does that mean Uncle so-and-so isn't coming to the family reunions? That's right. They're kicked off the bus. They're no longer on the island.
We don't like him anymore.
And I think that freaks kids out. Oh, am I getting kicked off the bus? What if they
Yes.
don't like me? What if I don't fit in?
Yeah.
That's complicated. So the kids are dealing
And
with that.
yeah,
And social media, the stuff they
right.
see on social media. All right. So, what are your takeaways?
So my takeaway is I wouldn't be so alarmed about this Netflix special. I think you teach your kids to use social media in a positive way. Take some of this stuff with a grain of salt. Don't live by it. Build their confidence up. You need to pay attention to everything: TV, movies, games, social media, all of it.
Friend groups.
One of the best pieces of advice I can give is if your kids are going into high school with friend group in junior high or sixth grade, be real zoned in on that, because that's who they're going to hang with in high school. And if you don't like them, then get them to switch or something.
I guess my takeaways are just know that you are being manipulated with advertising and different political posts and conspiracy theories. Be mindful that everything that you click on is not true. And don't get sucked into the drama and the negativity. Try and read all sides of everything to get a good view. Even if you disagree, it's okay. Just to hear what the other side is saying. Admit that you're addicted. I'm addicted. And try and be mindful. Okay, I'm going to put the phone down now and go live my life. And living your life isn't just getting the next post for Facebook. Oh, I'm going to go do this so I can post it on Facebook. I'm going to go eat something delicious so this can be my next picture.
Right.
Let me go get a sunset picture for my post. Go live your life, put the phone down. Also enjoy the positives of social media, connecting with people, the real time play by play of what's actually going on in the world, the hurricanes and earthquakes and the political environment, especially with the election. It's good to be plugged in, just to be mindful about what you're seeing.
I agree.
I like the saying, well, Abraham Lincoln posted this, so it must be true. Anyway, well, this was a good conversation. All right, Cheryl. Carolyn, Cheryl, thank you. Carolyn, Cheryl, thank you.